Hey everyone, Mike Kaprowski here. We're on episode 5 of To The Point, and today we're going to talk briefly about the Dallas Housing Policy Resolution, which Opportunity Dallas recently released. And I think it's a big deal, and I'll tell you why. Lots of people have asked me, what's it going to take for the city of Dallas to adopt a comprehensive, energetic housing policy? And that's a complicated question, but there's one essential piece which I think the resolution addresses. And so, as a community, we have never really articulated our values. What do we want the housing policy to actually accomplish? You can't develop policies unless you've articulated values and guiding principles, and I don't think we've ever done that in the housing space in a broad, diverse way. So what we did was bring together a broad range of about 35 folks from different parts of town with different perspectives. Real estate developers, fair housing advocates, university experts, education advocates, nonprofit leaders, residents and community stakeholders, association reps, urban planners, and more. Our experiment was, given our diverse ideologies and backgrounds and perspectives, could we actually articulate a common set of values and guiding principles to shape the development of a housing policy? And we called ourselves the Policy Task Force, and our goal is to craft specific policy recommendations. But if we couldn't agree to common values and principles at the start, there would be little hope for us. And honestly, I had no clue whether we would arrive at something meaningful, but we did. And we posed a set of questions for the group to answer, questions that have been long overlooked and ignored. And we tried to see if we could craft explicit answers collectively. And so the questions were these. Do we believe that housing is a cornerstone for a variety of desirable economic, educational, financial, and social outcomes? Quite frankly, housing doesn't get a lot of attention. Do we believe that Dallas's high levels of concentrated poverty and segregation are problematic? Concentrated poverty, that term is used more commonly, but segregation is a touchy word that some people try to avoid. But it's the appropriate terminology for what's going on in Dallas. Could this group find a way to talk about it? Do we believe that more mixed income communities are a worthy and worthwhile goal for Dallas? If you look at a map, you might think that mixed income is not a priority for the city. There are almost no mixed income communities in Dallas. Wealthy live with wealthy, poor live with poor, and the middle class increasingly flows into the suburbs. Do we believe that economically and racially diverse neighborhoods are more promising for our future than economically and racially isolated neighborhoods? Again, same thing. If you look at a map of Dallas, you have to genuinely question whether we think diverse neighborhoods are preferable to homogeneous neighborhoods. Do we believe that housing affordability, or lack thereof, is a growing problem that must be dealt with? Do we believe that mixed income communities should be accessible and available to households at all income ranges? This is a big one, all income ranges. That means everyone. The wealthy executive, the teacher, the firefighter, the janitor, those on the very low end of the income spectrum. Do we believe that a more holistic and equitable approach to revitalization is needed to transform distressed neighborhoods into areas of opportunity? This is another big one. Is the way that we're doing revitalization in Dallas the most equitable, effective way of doing it? Do we believe that we should enhance choice and reduce barriers for moderate and low-income families so that they can access high-opportunity areas if they choose? Been a lot of conversation about this one. Do we believe that we must increase the overall supply and accessibility of mixed income and affordable housing throughout all parts of the city? If you look at a map of Dallas, you would think that our collective value is that affordable housing should only be in certain parts of town. But is that what we want to see going forward? Do we believe that longtime residents in gentrifying neighborhoods should be able to stay in their neighborhoods if they choose? This is the West Dallas question, the HMK city debate, the displacement crisis. Lots of press coverage about it, but at its core, it's a values question. What do we actually believe should happen in that situation? And do we believe that these problems and issues demand urgency and require a large-scale policy response? And this is a huge question, right? Can and should policy play a role in addressing some of these problems? Can policy ensure market returns and promote the public good? It's not an obvious answer. So we met regularly for 2 months, and after many conversations, we've crafted answers to these very fundamental questions. And we spelled them out in what we're calling the Dallas Housing Policy Resolution, and we believe that this is a unique effort in the Dallas housing space, a broad, diverse community response which articulates a stronger, more prosperous, more inclusive, more equitable vision for Dallas. And the short version is that in some form, the group answered yes to those questions I mentioned earlier. And that's a big deal because it provides a roadmap to developing a comprehensive housing policy. And I hope you take the time to read it. I know you can't read it on the screen, it's too small. But you can access it on our website at opportunitydallas.org/resolution. And I think you'll find it interesting. I hope you take a few minutes to read it. There are 35 signatories to the resolution, which you can see here. Folks signed in their individual capacities, not on behalf of their employer or organization. And our next step as a policy task force is to take those values that we articulated in the resolution and start developing specific policy recommendations. And, when we're debating the merits of each particular policy, whether it's voluntary inclusionary zoning or accessory dwelling units or community land trusts, we can always point back to those values. And, I'll be the first one to admit that when we get into actual policy specifics, there will be more disagreements amongst members. It will get harder for us. And as you get into the weeds of this, there will be different interpretations of what these values mean in practice. But this is a big start nonetheless. And it's a group of folks from different backgrounds and perspectives who are mobilizing in common purpose. And we're saying, you know what? It's time for Dallas to get serious about policies that promote mixed income and affordable housing. We think it's one of the most important things we can do as a city for poverty reduction, for economic mobility, for improved education, for improved health and wellness, and an array of other desirable outcomes.